Let's hear what Flores' response was to Tua.
I'm always going to have a high standard. And I think, look, I've done a lot of reflecting and on the situation, reflecting on the situation, communication. I think there's things that I could do better, for sure. And I've grown in that way. And I try to apply the things that I could do better and the things that I've learned, over the last, 2-3 years. But I would say over the long haul, I've had a lot of great relationships over my 21-year career here in the league. Players, coaches, personnel, equipment, people in the kitchen. I mean, really across the board, I've had a lot of great relationships. I'm going to continue to do that. But I'm also always looking to get better and evolve. It's no different than as a coach, whether it's schematics or personnel or evaluations. I'm always looking to get better. I'm always looking for dialogue in meetings with coaches, with players. I don't care where a good idea comes from. You guys have heard me say that. And, I'm open to getting better. And that's always always my mindset.
Stugotz, he did handle it well. Mm-hmm. That is what humbling sounds like. I'm not used to the football coaches getting out there and being that kind of humbled, especially the tough guy ones.
Right.
That wasn't quite, I'm sorry, and I would have liked some specifics on what it is he's learned, to not tell his quarterback that he sucks, or what he's learned specifically about positive reinforcement. But to me, the most interesting part of all of that is, in that sport where the evolution is always having the 21-year-old hunt down the 31-year-old, the fact that the power shift is such that these guys don't have Daddy Belichick out there anymore to protect them as the savior of the league, and to see that fall be that precipitous, where he gets here, does a good job. Flores did a good job here under impossible circumstances, but that the stain would linger, that Belichick can't get it out, and now that Tua takes him out with a sentence in a way that has him on his knees in Minnesota, that's a shift in the power dynamics that Tua went and got the money and the security to overtake where the power in that league is. Brady showed it to us with Belichick. Aaron Rodgers is showing it to us now with the Jets. The quarterbacks clearly run that league, Stugotz.
They do. I don't know when that shift occurred. It was probably in the last couple of years, but I do love that Tony wants him to walk out there, Flores, with Nick Mullins. Like, I think that is Nick Mullins and Sam Darnold to show support for Brian Flores.
They have some random defensive tackle there. At least Nick Mullins.
I think with Brian Flores also, this was his first time being a head coach in the NFL, right? And there is some nuance to some of the things that Nick Saban does and that Bill Belichick do, where, when you look at it from the outside, you're like, they're hard asses, right? But when you talk to some of Nick Saban's players who have come up playing through Alabama,
they love him.
They love him, right? But if this is your first time doing it and you don't know how to handle each person individually, and you don't have the head coaching experience, it's possible just to think, I need to be the hard ass, I need to be the person that's in charge, and you mismanage people. But as you grow in whatever the industry is, you learn a different way to handle people and different way to handle situations. So he could have changed in realizing, well, hey, I handled that the wrong way being a hard ass. I could be a hard ass, but some people I shouldn't be as much of a hard ass, or I can be a hard ass here, but then we have conversations where it may just be he mismanaged Tua, and he's not a terrible person. He just handled the situation poorly, and he's learned from that.
To your point, Billy, one of my friends, Marshall Newhouse, he's a great follow on Twitter, played for Bill Belichick, and he tweeted this out yesterday. He said, I can assure anyone trying to justify Flores' alleged coaching style behavior with he's a Belichick disciple, doesn't know how Bill led people all these years. Bill was far from warm and fuzzy all the time. He had an unwavering sense of accountability. The record speaks for itself. However, he loved football and he loved players. He absolutely revered what it takes to sacrifice and play this game. He may not have been outwardly cordial all the time about it, but there's no shortage of respect that Bill had for the game and for the players involved. So I think, to your point, Billy, there is probably a misunderstanding from people on the outside watching different coaching styles versus what people may have actually felt in those locker rooms. And so to write it off as Bill Belichick and Nick Saban and Brian Flores they're all these hardo guys. There is probably nuance to it. And to your point, I think different players probably have different experiences themselves with how they receive some of the criticism or the coaching that they're getting from these coaches.
I'd say even within the same locker room, you have different perceptions of the way that they are, right? Like you're always going to have a disgruntled former player of Belichick or Saban or whoever that feels like they were wronged and they don't have that good feeling towards their former coach. Like Tua did not have a good relationship with him, obviously, right? But that's not to say that former Dolphins don't like Brian Flores or don't think that he did a good job.
Tua said all other members of my draft class as well. Amin could speak to this because you have to have a combination of ingredients, Stugotz. The first word in tough love is tough, but you better have something that resembles the love somewhere in there. You can disrespect me if I know that you are someone who actually respects me, and I also respect. But the relationship has to be real, and it has to be not of reputation. Like, it has to be born of you having endured things. Tua comes into the league. He's a novice. He doesn't have any confidence. The first coach he's getting is not giving him anything that resembles care. It's the opposite of that.
You can be tough on your players, but Dan, you said it perfectly. You have to show signs if you're a coach. You can be both. I can be tough on you, and at times I'm going to show you just how much I care about you. Players need to know that you're in this with them, that you actually care about them outside of the football field. You care about them. You care about their family. But this is a discussion about Flores not preparing himself in his first head coaching job for his quarterback and what makes his quarterback, tick. And if I'm him, I talk to Nick Saban. I talk to people who know him. Dan, you can't just treat everyone the same way. I don't care. Yes. I don't care how much experience you have.
Stugotz.
There are 75 men there.
Yes.
You don't treat them all the same way.
Understood, Stugotz. But when your standard at the position is all you've known there is Brady, you might have an unreasonable standard for where it is your quarterback play should be.
I think Brady showed you at the end that he was tired of being treated that way.